Monsanto, for those who live in the farmland, it's a household name. They're a chemical company turned seed company, from chemical manufacturing to GMOs. Since the company's transition in the late 90s, Monsanto has helped the world increase its agricultural output many times over. They have reshaped a large part of farming, the culture of agriculture, if you will, through genetic modifications of the most common crops grown in America today. These improved organisms are superior in almost any quality a farmer could desire. They grow faster, stronger, juicier, and just plain better than the variety they're meant to replace. And this is all due to the biotechnology developed at Monsanto. In the company's words, biotechnology is mankind at its best, in partnership with nature. And Monsanto is committed to the science of improving and preserving the quality of our environment, and of our very lives. Not only are these improvements welcome, they're also needed. The exponential growth of the world's population has put a strain on food supply, and Monsanto is responding with new and much-needed strains of crops to increase yield, decrease water expenditure, and make the farming process more efficient. One of the biggest advances for Monsanto and agricultural communities has been the use of Roundup, a pesticide, with Roundup-resistant crops. This step forward greatly reduces the time needed to raise a field of crops for harvest. The time gained from this advancement can now be used for optimizing crop growth in other ways, or can be spent farming more land, either way, producing more crop. Through the success of this advancement and others of similar profundity, Monsanto provides seed for more and more farmers each year. Now, it may seem like Monsanto is leading the world in agricultural progress to make the world a better place, but that's just the mask the company likes to put on itself. Although Monsanto has made considerable progress in increasing the yield farmers are able to obtain, its success is only partially due to the wholesome aspect of that biotechnological breakthrough. Monsanto initially rose to become economically powerful by a slew of lawsuits aimed to protect itself from future competition in the form of startups and ease government regulation. It did this by manipulation not of farmers, but of environmental groups who supported restrictions on startups. When it first produced genetically engineered seed, it and the environmental groups convinced the Supreme Court that plants could be patented. Since the lawsuits and patents, Monsanto has worked to extend its reach with no regard for consequences. Monsanto uses the mentioned lawsuits and patents as manipulation to make its products as widespread as possible, and with this, its influence and power grows. Its power has been used in seemingly unnecessary ways as well. The patents are the strongest protections against Monsanto. They restricted the growth of Monsanto plants except where the company had already authorized it. This may sound reasonable. The patents were supposed to protect Monsanto's rights to its invention. The thing is, Monsanto overused its power. Gary Reinhardt is a personal victim of Monsanto's neglect for ethical behavior. After finding a few Monsanto patented plants growing on the property of Reinhardt's country store, Monsanto representatives stormed his store to take him to court for his violation of a Monsanto patent. The experience caused trauma in Reinhardt's personal life, and even though he was found not guilty, Monsanto did not cover the expenses of his lawyer and did not apologize. It truly seems like Monsanto's out to get the farmers, like it wants to take all the money out of them as possible. My dad, raised in Nebraska as a farm boy, always had this saying about agriculture. Farming is a great way to make a little money, if you start off with a lot of it. This seems truer than ever with Monsanto's manipulation in the seed business. Adding to this shameless exploitation through seed patents, Monsanto has also shown a great deal of ignorance when developing its own products. From its chemical days, the company took part in producing Agent Orange, a chemical used during the Vietnam War that is to blame for vast environmental destruction. It also produces the chemical Roundup, a pesticide for weeds, and it's still used today, mostly on Monsanto crops that can grow despite the presence of the pesticide. The pesticide works well, but it's used in such quantities that runoff from the fields poses a significant threat to the surrounding ecosystem. To make matters worse, some weeds are starting to resist Roundup, defeating the entire purpose of creating crops to resist Roundup in the first place. With better environmental accountability, these mistakes could have been avoided and environmentally sound options could have taken root. With the manipulation and irresponsibility of Monsanto in mind, how can broader society trust agricultural companies like this to lead us into the future? The innovation is almost guaranteed to advance, but companies' respect for its customers likely won't. The solution lies in more regulation of implementation of biotechnology. Without regulation, The consequences, although probably unintentional, could have a profound and unwanted impact on society.